the most radical agenda in my lifetime.
It's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. It's a workers' thing.
Amazon Labor Union President Christian Smalls kindly shut down Lindsey Graham's garbage during a hearing on Amazon's labor practices. Now, I have a couple of clips to show you, so the second clip is going to get a little more into what Amazon has been doing to these workers. But first here, this exchange. So Lindsey Graham was annoyed that they even had this this discussion about Amazon's labor practices. So you're going to see that, and you're going to see Christian Smalls' response.
This is very dangerous. You can have oversight hearings all you like, but you've determined Amazon is a piece of crap company. That's your political bias. They're subject to the laws of the United States. They shouldn't be subject to this. If we get the committee back, we're not going to do this. I'm here to say that if you're a business, you can have a say too about your workforce. The idea that you can only get a government contract if you promise to be neutral is ridiculous. This is a heavy-handed approach, the most radical agenda in my lifetime. And it should be carried out at the ballot box, and it will be.
Well, first off, I want to address Mr. Graham. First off, it sounded like you was talking about more of the companies and the businesses in your speech, but you forgot that the people are the ones who make these companies operate. And if we're not protected, and if the process for when we hold these companies accountable is not working for us, then that's the reason why we're here today. That's the reason why I'm here to represent the workers who make these companies go. And I think that it's in your best interest to realize that it's not a left or a right thing. It's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. It's a workers thing. It's a workers issue. And we're the ones that are suffering in the corporations that you're talking about, in the businesses that you're talking about, in the warehouses that you're talking about. So that's the reason why I think I was invited today to speak on that behalf. And you should listen, because we do represent your constituents as well. So just take that into consideration, that the people are the ones that make these corporations go. It's not the other way around.
All right, so I have a second clip coming up, but first here, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham and his righteous indignation. Oh, Amazon doesn't deserve this. They shouldn't be subjected to this. Come on. This is a company whose profits soared 220% during the pandemic. Meanwhile, places like where Christian Smalls worked, COVID outbreaks, no real protections in place for workers until they complained. People getting sick, overworked, underpaid, while Amazon corporate enjoys their massive profits. While Bezos is out on his, several yachts going to space, these people actually doing the work, actually the ones generating the profits for Amazon. But no, Lindsey Graham, businesses should also have their say. Are you kidding? What? That's all that's been going on. The only ones that have their say are the businesses, are the corporations. Finally, workers get a voice in this 1 hour-long hearing, and it's too much for Lindsey Graham. He can't take it. Absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, look at who the child is in the room there. Christian Smalls calmly, shuts down Lindsey Graham's crap. Lindsey Graham freaking out that there's any criticism at all about Amazon. I wonder who he represents. Who do you think Lindsey Graham stands up for? The vast majority of people, the working class, or the ones at the top of society that already benefit completely? It's absolutely amazing to me that anyone can vote for a dipshit like that. Now, before I get to the second clip, they also went to the White House. So White House hosted the organizer at Amazon and at a Starbucks. Christian Smalls tweeting out later on that's saying that he is currently at the White House. Now, who do you think organized that? Who do you think reached out to Christian Smalls, to Starbucks organizers? Joe Biden? Think it was Joe Biden? Joe Biden, who's been trying to ignore this issue this entire time. Joe Biden, who has done nothing at all to actually fight to pass the PRO Act? No, of course not. It was Bernie. Now, I don't know that for sure, but I think we know it was Bernie. He had just been recently talking to the Starbucks workers. He was there in Virginia. Of course, was out there with these Amazon organizers as well. So, yeah, Joe Biden talks a big game, but doesn't really go anywhere. Now, let me get to this second clip. So actually, Bernie put this out on his page, and this is them discussing with the Amazon workers how Amazon has been treating these workers.
The union busting is above and beyond.
We heard about the intimidations. We heard about the threats.
Anyone that talks to us
Anyone
gets
that
fired.
talks to us gets fired.
We gotta get that down. Because that is threats, that's creating an environment of intimidation, it's creating a retaliatory environment.
And we heard about these anti-union meetings.
Amazon doesn't realize that everybody is already traumatized about working there for 10 hours, 12 hours on station. And when you divide workers and you're putting workers against each other, you're putting us in danger, and to the point where, we have to hire security now. And we gotta watch our back, because workers really believe the stuff that they're hearing about us.
They stop production for 5 hours per day to bring every single person, all 500 people on the shift, into this meeting where the general manager and the vice president of HR for all of Amazon comes and begs people basically to vote no. Never in the history of Amazon have they ever stopped production to pull people for an all hands on deck meeting.
That is illegal, unacceptable. And we're going to deal with that as well. So we need strong labor law, which at the end of the day says that if 50% of workers in a unit plus one vote for a union, you know what? They got a union, and the company's going to have to negotiate that contract in a reasonable term.
So, of course, Bernie Sanders has had a long history, his entire career, fighting for unions well before he was in Congress, before he was even a mayor. He was fighting for organizing for others, fighting for the working class. And again, he shows that there. But ultimately, look, this shows you what Amazon was doing to try and is still doing to try and suppress any discussion of a union, any attempt here for workers to have their own voice. They, for the first time ever, called an all hands on deck meeting, actually stopped production. I mean, think of what it takes for Amazon to decide we're not going to have profits for 5 hours today. This is what it takes. Because of how scared they are of workers having their own voice, because they understand what that leads to. That leads to them maybe having to pay a little more, maybe having to improve conditions somewhat, maybe cutting into just a tiny bit, little bit, cutting into the money given to executives at the top of the company. It's amazing. But this is why this fight is so important, and why that victory was so important. Because not only is it good for them, it's also good for everybody. It encourages, it gives a incentive. It makes people realize that, hey, this is possible. If you can win a union vote at Amazon in a massive warehouse with tons of employees, then you can unionize anywhere. And ultimately, that's what that victory shows. And as I've discussed a million times when discussing this issue, unions don't just benefit those in the union, they benefit everybody in every workplace. The more that unions exist, the more that non-unionized workplaces have to compete in the labor market for those same workers. So then if you're not unionized in your workplace, that workplace now has to compete with higher wages, better benefits to try and compete with the unionized workplaces. So this is why everybody in the working class should be supporting this effort, because it will benefit you. More unions will benefit you, even if you are not in a union.